Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe has sharply criticized his Vice President Joyce Mujuru, underscoring that she is no longer a favorite to succeed him. Mugabe told military leaders and representatives of Zimbabwe's independence war veterans on Tuesday that Mujuru was working with the political opposition as well as the United States. Washington has criticized Mugabe's human rights record and imposed some sanctions on officials and entities in the southern African country. Mugabe's address was broadcast on state television and came during a key ruling party congress at which the president is poised to consolidate his grip on power by appointing a new set of loyalists, including his wife, Grace. Shingai Nyoga, SABC reporter, now joins us from Harare for more. Shingai, a very good afternoon to you. Now, analysts say Mugabe feared Mujuru had become too popular within the party and could possibly unseat him at Congress. However, now comparisons are being made with a similar, if not less dramatic, party purge the president made back in 2004, and this time of those who are opposed to Mujuru's appointment as vice president. But what sort of picture do these dynamics paint, Shingai?
That's very correct in the sense that President Mugabe just a few minutes ago finished an address to the Central Committee on the second day of this elective Congress and really made it clear that Vice President Joyce Mujuru wants to occupy a seat that she's not qualified to do so. So really at this stage it's the most candid that he's been about who he doesn't want to take over the party. He hasn't really spoken about who he wants to take over the party, even though there's been many inferences. But really at this stage it appears that Vice President Joyce Mujuru, who at one time was very powerful, I mean, you mentioned the fact that she had a lot of control over the provinces. She had 9 out of 10 provincial chairmen allegedly in support of her, but all of those have been purged. So really at one time she was very powerful, and this is just Mugabe's attempt at trying to regain some of that power and appoint people that he thinks are loyal to him.
Shingai, now the ZANU-PF Congress is likely to see President Robert Mugabe make significant changes to the top ranks of his party. What would be the underlying factors for him to drive such moves, though?
At this stage, it's clearly not about public reputation. Some of the people that are touted as possible successors or possible vice presidents don't really have a public image, so to speak, and are not really popular with ordinary Zimbabweans. At this stage, it really appears as if his primary concern is safeguarding the family of his future, safeguarding his own legacy, and making sure that whoever takes over the vice presidency will not pose the kind of threat to him that Joyce Mujuru has over the last couple of years. Somebody who's possibly not as ambitious as Mai Mujuru has been.
Shingai, look, speaking of unpopularity, we know that First Lady Grace Mugabe led a vitriolic campaign against Vice President Joyce Mujuru, ordering her to resign and even saying that the 59-year-old stinks. But what impact will these sentiments bear on the country's political spectrum in view of its ailing economy and increased sanctions from the Western nations?
At this stage, people just want this leadership wrangle within ZANU-PF to be resolved, because what the perception among a lot of people is that it's detracted and taken away a lot of the attention from what is really key in this country, which is resolving the problems with the economy. As you mentioned, the economy is sinking. There's a very high unemployment rate, but over the last 3 months or so, there's been a focus within ZANU-PF, within the public media especially, on just the politics without really looking at some of these substantive issues. And so really what people are wanting is for these issues to resolve themselves so that the party can get back to the business of saving the economy.
Besides the politicians, Shingai, what is the general feeling among Zimbabweans? Are they pro or against Mujuru, or they just don't really have a choice in the matter?
They don't have a choice in the matter, but if it were put to a popular vote, she would likely be the more popular candidate because she is perceived as being quite liberal politically, and President Mugabe has spoken about it, and that's one of the reasons that he doesn't want her to succeed him, is that she's perceived as being not pro-West, but open to working with the West, open to working with the opposition, and that's the reason why many people are endeared to her, despite all the corruption allegations that have been leveled against her. Whereas Emmerson Mnangagwa, who's the other alleged faction leader, is more of a hardliner. He's perceived to continue with the policies, hardline policies of ZANU-PF. So if it were put to a popular vote, Mujuru would probably have the edge over Emmerson Mnangagwa.
Look, Shingai, before I let you go very quickly, how true are these allegations against Mujuru with working with the opposition and the United States?
At this stage, they just remain that, allegations. There's been claims that she's corrupt, that she's extorted money from foreign companies, but none of these claims have actually been verified. We haven't heard anything from the police about any kind of investigation. Really, at this stage, they just remain political claims by factions that are opposed to Joyce Mujuru.
Well, there it is. That's SABC reporter Shingai Nyoka, live to us from Harare, Zimbabwe, giving us the latest in the struggle for Mugabe's succession.